Part 28. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 271. Baiki village looks a bit dead under the setting sun. The whole village seemed like a ghost village, without any sign of life. I looked up to the horizon. A few dark clouds crept up into the sky quietly, breaking the beautiful sunset scene and making it seem a bit depressing. While walking, Miao Fengluan stopped. I looked back at her and she was staring blankly at a bush. I followed her gaze and looked carefully. The green bushes were crushed, and a pale human foot stretched out from the bushes. Miao Fengluan's red lips trembled slightly, and she walked towards that direction like a zombie. I quickly followed him. Arriving in front of the bush, Miao Fengluan stretched out his trembling hand and opened the bush. When she saw what was happening in the bushes, her legs softened and she fell to her knees. Mom! Lying in the bush was none other than Miao Fengluan's mother. Miao Fengluan's mother hanged herself, with her long tongue hanging out. She looked a little scary, but she still had a relieved smile on her face. Miao Fengluan knelt in front of her mother's body, silent, tears welling up in her eyes and refusing to fall. I said, "Bury your mother first." Miao Fengluan nodded. She and I worked together to dig a big hole and put the body in it. Miao Fengluan buried her mother's grave with tears in her eyes. Soon a small grave mound appeared in front of me. Miao Fengluan kowtowed to the grave mound a few times, then stood up and said to me, "Let's go." I hesitated for a moment, then stretched out my hand and gently took Miao Fengluan into my arms. Because of my move, Miao Fengluan couldn't hold back at all, and the suppressed emotions in her heart suddenly exploded. "Lusu! I don't have a mother anymore." She hugged me tightly and cried. I could only give her comfort by patting her back. Miao Fengluan cried for a while, stretched out her hand to touch her tears, raised her head and said to me, "Lusu, my mother will join a good family in the next life, right?" I said softly, "Yes, she has suffered too much in this life." Miao Fengluan nodded heavily, wiped away her tears, and said to me, "Let's go. The first thing now is to find Zhang Xi." I told Miao Fengluan what I was thinking in my heart. After hearing this, Miao Fengluan hesitated and said, "I don't know if I can use Shinayan to help you hide your body, but I can give it a try." My eyes lit up. It would be great if I could use Shinayan to help me hide my body. In this way, no matter what you do, you will be able to do it with ease. Miao Fengluan took a deep breath, stretched out her slender hand, and gently covered my forehead. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes passed and nothing happened. Miao Fengluan put down his hand and sighed in frustration. I comforted her and said, "Don't worry, take your time." Miao Fengluan nodded, stretched out his hand again, and gently covered my forehead. Another 5 minutes passed. I originally thought I would fail this time, but what I didn't expect was that Miao Fengluan's palm actually emitted a dazzling white light. Then the white light slowly dimmed and enveloped me. I looked at the changes in my body with some surprise. "Is this Shinayan?" Miao Fengluan seemed a little tired. She said to me, "This is the first time I use Shinayan on someone. It shouldn't last too long." I smiled at Miao Fengluan, "That's enough." Miao Fengluan took a deep breath, used Shinayan on herself, and then the two of us entered the village. Entering the village, we went straight to the Miao family ancestral hall. It was already dark now, and people gathered outside the Miao family ancestral hall. They held torches to illuminate the dark environment. Miao Fengluan and I hid in the corner without saying a word. At this moment, Lin Duyan came out. He glanced at the villagers coldly, and then said loudly, "This is our chance to escape from here. As long as we help this 1,000-year-old zombie survive the thunderstorm tonight, we can sweep through the Miao village. Get out of here." Grandma Miao told me that the villagers in Baiki village are all remnants of the Miao village. Unexpectedly, These remnants have been planning how to return to the Miao village. When the villagers heard this, they looked extremely excited and shouted to support Lin Duyan. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 272. At this moment, Lin Duyan was like a savior god in the eyes of these villagers. At this moment, a villager suddenly turned his head and looked towards us. My expression condensed, my body froze, and I didn't dare to move. The man looked at me for a long time, finally stretched out his hand and scratched his head in confusion, and then looked away. Seeing this scene, I breathed a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, there is Miao Fengluan's divine presence. Lin Duyan looked at everyone and said, "It's almost time. Go up the mountain to meet the cave god." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone dispersed in a hurry, and Lin Duyan also left with them. I saw the opportunity and sneaked into the ancestral hall with Miao Fengluan. At night, the ancestral hall was decorated with lanterns and colorful lights, and one room was lit with warm red lights. I dragged Miao Fengluan to the window of that room. I stood up and looked at the scene inside the house through the window. I saw a woman wearing a red wedding dress sitting quietly on the wooden bed. The woman wears a red hijab, her dark and smooth hair is spread over her shoulders, her slender white jade hands are lightly folded together on her legs, her figure is slim and graceful, and she is graceful and luxurious. Although I can't see the woman's face clearly, I am sure that she is Huashiu. I squatted down and began to think about the situation. I think I already know Lin Duyan's plan. He wanted to marry Huashiu to the cave god, and then let the cave god bear the catastrophe for Huashiu. Thinking of this, I raised my head, looked at Miao Fengluan, and asked in a low voice, "Can you find Zhang Xi?" Miao Fengluan was stunned, pondered for a moment, and replied, "I can give it a try." I pulled Miao Fengluan to find a safe place for him to perform divine hiding, but when I passed the main hall of the ancestral hall, I stopped. Looking at the countless tablets, a wrong guess quietly emerged in my mind. In order to verify my inner guess, I came to the main hall and imitated Grandma Miao's example of pushing a tablet. Suddenly there was the sound of mechanical operation in the air, and then, a tunnel entrance appeared in front of me. It was exactly as I guessed. The layout of this ancestral hall is exactly the same as that of the Miao village. Moreover, the villagers of Beiki village are still the remnants of the Miao village. Combined with their desire to return to the Miao village, I derived this guess. Miao Fengluan and I entered the tunnel. The layout inside was the same as that of the Miao village forbidden area. Not long after walking, a huge coffin came into my sight. This sarcophagus gives me the same feeling as the one in the forbidden area of Miao village. But the evil spirit is relatively less. It was obvious that the 10,000 poison coffin in front of him was a forgery. At this time, I suddenly felt Miao Fengluan's hand holding mine shaking slightly. I looked at her and found that her face was pale and her expression was extremely bad. "What's wrong with you?" Miao Fengluan said feebly, "It's probably because of the excessive physical exertion of maintaining spiritual concealment." I quickly said, "You should take a rest first." Miao Fengluan nodded and cancelled Shinayan. In an instant, the faint white light lingering around me dissipated in an instant. Miao Fengluan's body softened and she fell into my arms. I quickly supported her and helped her comb her messy hair with some distress. Miao Fengluan raised her head, smiled at me, and said, "I'm fine. I'll just rest for a while." I came to the stone coffin. The carvings on the coffin were also filled with 10,000 insects, but I didn't know if the coffin contained 10,000 poisons. Just when I wanted to open the coffin and take a closer look, there were slight footsteps in the passage behind me. My expression instantly became extremely cautious, and I quickly helped Miao Fengluan hide in the darkness. Tap tap tap. The footsteps were getting closer and duller. The sound of footsteps shouldn't be that of a person. Soon, several figures walked out of the darkness, one person, 2 people. There are 10 villagers. They are actually villagers from Bakey village. What are they doing here? After the villagers, a familiar figure caught my eye. Cripple Lee. I saw him limping to the sarcophagus, and then opened the sarcophagus. A powerful and suffocating corpse aura instantly spread from the coffin. Lee Laza looked at these villagers and said, "Go in, for the sake of our future life, we can only wrong you." The villagers looked at me and I looked at you, with hesitation in their eyes. Lee Zizi's eyes flashed with a trace of cruelty. He made a secret with both hands, then took out the soul-calling bell and shook it wildly. The next second, the corpse in the coffin sat up straight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanba. Chapter 273. When I saw the body in the coffin, a chill spread throughout my body. It was a male corpse, all black and purple, wearing soft black armor. When the corpse sat up, countless insects shook off his body. Seeing this scene, I instantly remembered the poisonous corpse that Zhang Shii told me before. 5 poisonous corpses. Unexpectedly, 5 poison corpses would appear here. Li Laza shook the soul-catching bell in his hand, and the 5 poison corpses slowly crawled out of the coffin. Several villagers looked shocked. Suddenly, the villagers began to twitch wildly, and countless blood-red threads crawled out of their bodies. It's body phagocytosis goo. Now I finally know why the villagers of Bakey village cannot leave the village. Li Zizi and Lin Duyan were actually using the flesh and blood of villagers to raise goo. The 5 poison corpses began to become restless when they smelled the soul-eating goo. Li Laza no longer shook the soul-catching bell in his hand, but instead allowed the 5 poison corpses to approach the villagers. The next moment, screams filled my ears, making my scalp tingle. I saw 5 poisonous corpses and grabbed a villager directly. When his hand touched the villager's body, the villager instantly lost his life, and his body was rotting at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then there was a disgusting rancid smell in the air. The surrounding villagers turned pale with fright when they saw this scene. Their legs became weak and they collapsed to the ground. The 5 poison corpses threw aside the corpses of the villagers in their hands and continued to approach the remaining villagers. The villagers howled and fled frantically. Because their legs were weak, they could only crawl on the ground. Soon, the screams in his ears stopped abruptly, leaving only a shocking amount of blood on the ground. After doing this, Wuda corpse looked around and sniffed his nose. Seeing this scene, I looked shocked. Not good. Discovered by 5 poison corpses. The 5 poison corpses were walking towards the place where Miao Fengluan and I were hiding. His speed is not fast, but my heart trembles with every step he takes. Li Laza also discovered the abnormality of the 5 poison corpses and followed him towards us. Just when I was about to fight to the death with 5 poison corpses and Li Laza, Miao Fengluan suddenly held my right hand, and the white misty light enveloped me again. At the same time, the 5 poison corpses also lost their target and stood there confused. Li Laza held a torch in his hand to illuminate the hiding place where Miao Fengluan and I were hiding. He looked stunned for a moment, then turned around and left with Wudu's corpse. Seeing Li Zizi leave, I breathed a long sigh of relief. What a risk. If Miao Fengluan hadn't activated Shinayan in time, we would have been discovered. After Li Zizi left, I came to the sarcophagus. The scene in the sarcophagus made my scalp tingle. I saw densely packed 5 poisons twisting and rolling inside the sarcophagus. Because of the light, these 5 poisons looked like roiling black water. I think I know the truth about the curse of Bakey village. The reason why the villagers of Bakey village cannot leave the village is very simple, that is, they have body-devouring goo in their bodies. Once you leave the village you will be in the same situation I was in before. The purpose of cultivating goo in the body is also very simple, that is to cultivate the 5 poison corpses. Miao Fengluan took my hand and suddenly said to me, I can try to find Zhang Xi. I nodded. Miao Fengluan sat cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes tightly, and then his body went limp and he collapsed to the ground. I held her in my arms, waiting for the result of her fugue. About 5 minutes later, Miao Fengluan slowly opened his eyes. She said to me, I found Zhang Xi. I quickly asked, what did he say to you? Miao Fengluan pondered for a moment and replied, he said that he has set up a large formation around the ancestral hall, asking us to hide first, and then wait until Huashiu survives the catastrophe before taking action. After listening, I nodded and said, you take a rest first, and then we go out again. Miao Fengluan hummed softly, then rested against my shoulder. About 10 minutes passed. I stood up and walked directly under the passage door. I listened carefully to the movement outside in the passage. There was dead silence outside the passage. Just when I wanted to leave and continue to rest, a high-pitched and sharp Suana sound suddenly came. The cave god is here. I quickly asked Miao Fengluan to get out of the tunnel. Miao Fengluan used Chinayan again. We walked out of the tunnel and saw countless villagers supporting a man with an almost bewitching appearance in the courtyard of the ancestral hall. Lin Duyan followed the man. They came to Huashiu's room, and then Lin Duyan said respectfully to the cave god, the bride is in the house. When the cave god heard this, he looked overjoyed, then glanced at Lin Duyan with admiration, then opened the door and walked inside. When I saw this scene, my eyes turned cold. There was no way I would let the cave god taint my sister's innocence. I moved closer to the room. What I didn't expect was that Lin Duyan was sitting cross-legged on the ground, mumbling something. Then, a dazzling golden light flashed on the doors and windows of the room, and obscure spells appeared on the doors and windows. Immediately afterwards, I heard the angry voice of the cave god coming from inside the house. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 274. Bold. What are you going to do to this cave god? The cave god slapped the wooden door hard with his palm, and in an instant the golden light of the talisman on the wooden door shone brightly, knocking the cave god back several steps. Lin Duyan glanced at the cave god coldly and said nothing. At this time, Li Leiza came to Lin Duyan, took a look at the cave god in the room, and then let out a wicked smile. I didn't expect that the famous cave god would end up like this. It's really surprising. Li Zizi began to ridicule the Dongshen. When the cave god saw this situation, his face was deformed with anger, but even so, he could do nothing. Lin Du saw Li Leiza's careless look and said with some dissatisfaction, hurry up and prepare the lightning formation. That kid might be back soon. Li Leiza waved his hand and said nonchalantly, senior brother, you are too nervous. What's so great about that kid? What's more, we still have 5 poison corpses. Lin Duyan's expression became more sinister, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get ready. Seeing that his senior brother was angry, Li Leiza did not dare to talk any more and hurriedly went to prepare the magic circle. Seeing this situation, I gave up the idea of rescuing Huashiu. Although the cave god is now trapped in the house, he will not do anything to Huashiu for a while. Miao Fengluan and I carefully hid behind the rockery. Miao Fengluan's delicate body was shaking non-stop, her pretty face turned pale, it was obvious that she had reached her limit. I held Miao Fengluan's little hand tightly and whispered, if you can't stand it, take a rest. Miao Fengluan nodded, then withdrew from Shinayan and rested next to me. I always pay attention to Lin Duyan's movements. I saw Lin Duyan silently looking up at the starry sky. Li Zizi was drawing a magic circle outside the wedding room. The other villagers in Beiki village stood there, clasping their hands together, muttering something, and praying. Time passed by, and Li Leiza's magic circle was completed. Just when the last stroke of the magic circle fell, a loud noise came from the night sky, and bursts of thunder approached over the ancestral hall. One after another, dazzling bolts of lightning pierced the night sky, illuminating the dark night sky intermittently. I looked up at the night sky. This time the thunder was more powerful than what I had encountered before. I looked at the room where Hwashiu was, and I couldn't help but feel nervous. Li Leza came to Lin Duyan and whispered a few words to Lin Duyan. Lin Duyan bit his index finger and walked into the thunder formation. He sat cross-legged and muttered words. With the frequency of his chanting, the sound of thunder and lightning in the night sky became more and more violent. The cave god in the room seemed to realize something. He roared angrily, regained his true form again, and began to attack the door desperately. The wooden door, under the blessing of the spell, is like a copper wall and an iron wall. No matter how the cave god attacks, it cannot be shaken in the slightest. Seeing the thunder coming, Dongshen still couldn't rush out of the house, so he turned his attention to Hwashiu. He stretched out his huge right fist and struck Hwashiu hard. However, as a 1,000-year-old zombie, Hwashiu's body has long been indestructible, and it is impossible to hurt her with brute force. In the night sky, thunder and lightning hovered, faintly threatening to fall. As the cave god roared, the ground beneath the room began to tremble violently, and then began to crack. Everything in the world has spirits. In a sense, the cave god is also a mountain god. He can command the spirits of this area. The ground began to crack and the entire room began to collapse. My heart was in my throat, and I prayed in my heart that the cave god would never break free. Just when the thousands of troops were about to attack, Lin Duyan opened a gap in the magic circle in the house, and then a figure rushed into it. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 275. I took a closer look and saw that it was a green zombie. The green zombie pounced directly on the cave god, and the huge force knocked the cave god staggering. The cave god's huge body fell towards Hwashiu. At the same time, Lin Duyan shouted loudly, and the thunder hovering in the sky fell in response. I looked up at the sky and saw purple sky thunder hovering in the sky, shaped like a giant python or a blue dragon. The bursts of thunder are like the sound of vast bells, awakening the earth and shocking the heart. The huge purple thunder dragon's thunder body shot out streaks of lightning as thick as buckets, just like a big net covering the night sky, and the purple light made the entire night sky bright. Boom! The purple thunder dragon roared down with the strong wind, and the powerful residual power instantly raised the house to the ground. The hot air waves made me feel a burning sensation. The loud thunder filled my ears, causing tinnitus in my ears. I don't know how long it took, but the world became peaceful, and not even the slightest sound could be heard. I rubbed my eyes and looked nervously towards where Hwashiu was. Thunder and lightning cracked the wooden house into pieces, and the smell of burning sawdust filled the air. In the abandoned area, a beautiful figure stood quietly. I was overjoyed. It was Hwashiu. Judging from her current condition, she should be in pretty good condition. Looking at the cave god's huge body lying on the ground, it was already lifeless. Li Zizi and Lin Duyan struggled to stand up and looked at the abandoned area with excited expressions. When they saw Hwashiu, they couldn't help laughing loudly. Ha ha ha! 1,000-year-old zombie! We finally got the 1,000-year-old zombie. Lin Duyan took out a dark nail from his pocket and handed it to Li Leza. Put this corpse control nail into her head, and we can control her. Li Leza took the corpse control nail and approached Hwashiu. When I saw this scene, I glanced at Miao Fengluan, who understood in his mind. She used Chinayan again, and a faint white light enveloped my whole body. I held the 9 layers of thunder in my hand and rushed towards Li Leza. Just when Li Leza was about to touch Hwashiu, I raised the 9 layers thunder Ju in my hand and struck him hard. Li Zizi couldn't avoid the sudden blow, and was hit hard by me. Thunder and lightning exploded, blasting Li Lazy away. Lin Duyan looked horrified when he saw this scene. He quickly picked up the corpse whip and attacked Huaxiu. I was just about to pick up Lei Ju when I saw a familiar object in the corner of the waist area. It's Jingxiao? I didn't have time to think too much, I just picked up Jingxiao and stabbed Lin Duyan. Because of the divine invisibility, Lin Duyan had no way to avoid it, and was directly pierced through the chest by Jingxiao. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the sky red. And it was at this time that Jinayan failed. I held Jingxiao in my hand and protected Huaxiu behind me. Huaxiu is still in a state of confusion. It was probably because of Lin Duyan's previous methods. Lin Duyan covered his chest and looked at me fiercely, his old yellow teeth crunching loudly. Boy, I haven't gone to find you yet, but you came to my door. I have to make you pay the price today. I stared at Lin Duyan coldly, and replied unwillingly, then let's see if you have this ability. Lin Duyan came towards me with a corpse whip in his hand. I could only raise the Jingxiao in my hand and respond hastily. My skills are not as good as Lin Duyan's, and my combat experience is not as rich as Lin Duyan's. So when the two of us fought, Lin Duyan completely suppressed me. I activated the soul-stealing blood hand, and scarlet blood spread onto the body of the Jingxiao sword. When Lin Duyan's corpse-killing whip wrapped around Jingxiao, it made bursts of burning sounds. The yin qi emitted by the corpse whip disappeared instantly and was completely gone. It was at this time that Li Lazy stood up from the waist area and shook the soul-calling bell in his hand. The villagers who had been scattered by the thunder suddenly stopped and looked at me with dull eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 276. The moonlight poured down, shining directly on the bodies of these villagers. The villagers' originally rosy and shiny skin was turning extremely pale at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even his eyes gradually became dull and numb. Their mouths opened wide and they roared like wild beasts. Seeing this scene, two words quietly emerged in my mind. Zombies. The originally living villagers turned into zombies. Before I could think about it carefully, these zombies rushed towards me at extremely fast speeds. In addition, Li Lazy shook the soul-catching bell in his hand again. A powerful corpse energy burst out from the dark corner of the ancestral hall. I looked in the direction where the corpse aura erupted, and saw a figure slowly walking out of the darkness. He was wearing jet black soft armor, and was surrounded by dark green poisonous mist. Wherever he passed, the green grass withered instantly. 5 poisonous corpses. My expression became extremely solemn. Suddenly, the strong wind roared behind me, and I turned around suddenly. I saw a villager flashing his sharp fangs, opening his bloody mouth and biting my neck. I raised my hands in front of me. There was a muffled sound. The zombie bit hard on the Jingxiao sword. The next moment, the zombie's mouth was rotting at a speed visible to the naked eye, accompanied by a sizzling sound of burning. I raised my foot and kicked the zombie's belly hard, sending it flying away. Other zombies swarmed towards me. At the same time, the 5 poison corpse had also arrived beside me. Li Zizi laughed arrogantly when he saw this scene. Ha ha ha. I will let you die here today. At this critical moment, countless sharp black lines came into my sight. These thin black threads directly pierced the zombie, and the originally intact body instantly became riddled with holes. When I saw this thin black line, my face lit up. It was Mr. Ghost. As soon as I realized this idea, Master Goi's unruly voice sounded in my ears. If Feng Luan hadn't begged me, I wouldn't have wanted to rescue you. Then a dark wind came, and the figure of Master Ghost appeared in front of me. He stretched out his hand, grasped it in the air, and countless thin black threads tore the zombie into pieces. Master Ghost's help only alleviated the current situation, and a bigger crisis was still waiting for me. The 5 poison corpses had already arrived in front of me, and the dark green poisonous gas on his body seemed to be attacking me consciously. I quickly dodge. This poisonous mist must not touch a single star. If it does, I'm afraid I will die without a burial place. But these poisonous fogs are like dogskin plasters that I can't get rid of, following me around like a shadow. I held Jingxiao in my hand and took a deep breath. Scarlet blood and bloody lightning instantly filled the sword body. I waved hard towards the dark green poisonous mist. The bloody thunderbolt instantly dispersed the poisonous mist, and the 5 poisonous corpses came into view. I no longer hesitated, used both feet to exert force, and stabbed the 5 poison corpses' throat with a sword. But what I never expected was that the 5 poison corpses turned slightly sideways to avoid my fatal blow. Just hearing it, Jingxiao let out a stinging sound, brushing against the soft armor of the 5 poison corpses. The 5 poison corpses were very agile and quickly stretched out their hands to grab my right arm. Seeing that there was no way to escape, I could only activate the soul-stealing blood hand, hoping to use the blood hand to escape. The pale and withered hands of the 5 poison corpses tightly grasped my right arm, and I felt a sharp pain coming over me. The force was so strong that I almost cried out in pain. The soul-stealing blood hand can indeed resist the poison of the 5 poison corpses. But it couldn't stop the powerful power of the 5 poison corpses. I frowned, and following the power of the 5 poison corpses, I placed my right arm on his chest, trying to grab its soul. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 277. However, the soul-stealing bloody hand was blocked by the black gold soft armor and could no longer move forward. At this moment, the 5 poison corpse stretched out another pale and withered hand and grabbed at my chest. I looked horrified and kept retreating, but my right hand was tightly bound by the 5 poison corpses, and I couldn't move my body at all. Just when I thought I was going to get cold, dense black thin threads tied Wu Duji's hands. Immediately afterwards, Master Gui's anxious voice came to my ears. "What are you still doing? Hurry up and find a way to break free." Hearing this sentence, I reacted instantly. He released Jingxiao's grip on his right hand, then caught it with his left hand and stabbed towards the chest of the 5 poison corpse. At the same time, I held the Thunder Ju in my right hand, and the beating arc directly knocked back the 5 poison corpses. I quickly escaped with the help of Jingxiao and Wujin's soft armor, and distanced myself from the 5 poison corpses. Lin Duyan and Li Leiza stood beside the 5 poison corpses, looking at me with gloomy expressions. Li Zizi said to me word by word, "Boy, hand over the 1,000-year-old zombie and I will spare your life." Lin Duyan glanced at Li Leiza coldly and said, "What nonsense are you talking to him about? Kill him and take back the Millennium Zombie." After hearing this, Li Leiza shook the soul-catching bell in his hand again. When the 5 poison corpses heard the ringing of the soul-stirring bell, they suddenly became excited. His body flashed and disappeared in an instant. As if I were facing a powerful enemy, I rushed to fight. The 5 poison corpses are highly poisonous, and with the blessing of black gold soft armor, their bodies become indestructible. I didn't dare to have physical contact with the 5 poison corpses, so I could only use Jingxiao to fight hastily. But Jingxiao cannot harm it. Master Gui was helpless with this guy for a while. Just when Master Ghost and I were in a bitter fight, a strong smell of burning incense passed into my nose. Someone is burning incense. I took advantage of the break between the 5 poisonous corpses to look around. I don't know since when, incense has been placed in every corner of the ancestral hall. Under the moonlight, the incense burned slowly, and the little stars looked particularly eye-catching in the darkness. It was at this time that I suddenly discovered that the stars hidden under the dark clouds had parted the fog and were shining brightly in the night sky. Li Zizi and Lin Duyan also noticed the abnormality at this time. They looked up at the stars, their expressions becoming more solemn. The 5 poison corpses also stopped attacking. At this moment, a figure slowly walked out of the darkness. When I saw who was coming, I was instantly overjoyed. Zhang Xiai. He came to my side with an extremely serious look on his face. It's not settled yet, he told me. I was slightly stunned. The situation in front of me was indeed unresolved, but I felt that he had other intentions. I asked, "What's unresolved?" Zhang Xiai glanced at Huaxiu behind me and said in a serious tone, "Your sister's disaster is not over yet. It's not finished yet." Zhang 11 looked up at the stars and said, "Your sister is a 1,000-year-old zombie and her destiny is extremely special. She cannot just experience 2 thunders." After hearing this, my expression became extremely serious. The thunder just now was very powerful. If it weren't for the cave god to resist it, Huaxiu would have died long ago. So what do we do? Zhang Xiai focused his attention on the 5 poison corpses, and I instantly understood what he meant. He wanted the 5 poison corpses to defend Huaxiu from the thunder again. This is really the only way right now. At this time, Lin Duyan suddenly exclaimed, 36 constellations of fragrance. Then he looked at me with vicious eyes and said in a cold tone, "You want to use the 36 Tiangang formation." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 278. 36 Tiangang formation? What kind of magic circle is this? I've never heard of it. I looked at Zhang Xiai, who nodded slightly to me, then put his mouth to my ear and whispered, "The 36 Tiangang formation, using the fragrance of the 36 constellations as a guide, awakens the 36 constellations. Whoever activates the magic circle will be blessed by the 36 stars, and their strength will be greatly improved." I looked at the 5 poison corpses not far away, and I was so anxious that I quickly said, "Then why are you still stunned? Activate the magic circle quickly." Zhang Shishi shook his head at me and replied, "I can't do it." I was stunned for a moment. I was about to say something, but was interrupted by Zhang Xiai. "But you can." I looked at Zhang Xiai with some doubts. Zhang 11 took a deep breath and replied, "When I was young, I was haunted by hundreds of ghosts. Grandpa Lu rescued me when I was wandering around and showed me the way. I asked how I should repay Grandpa Lu, but he told me to devote myself to practice, inherit the mantle of the sword creditor, and help you when the time is right." At this moment, I realized that Zhang Xiai's appearance was not accidental, but inevitable. Zhang 11 looked around and said with a firm expression, "This array cannot be activated by ordinary people. Only people like you are qualified to activate it." His words made me filled with doubts. However, I did not continue to ask, because the current situation did not allow me to have any extra thoughts. I quickly asked how to activate the magic circle. Seeing this, Li Lazy quickly launched an attack on me. Fortunately, Mr. Gui blocked me and Li Lazy did not interfere with my conversation with Zhang Xiai. After Zhang Xiai said that, I nodded towards him and said, "Okay, I understand." I bit my index finger, stood in the center of the magic circle, took a deep breath, and recited the mantra Zhang Xiai taught me. As I chanted the mantra more frequently, something strange happened. The 36 constellations of incense burned slowly, and the incense emitted slowly gathered around me. For a moment, misty white mist surrounded me. Lin Duyan looked shocked when he saw this scene, and shouted to Li Lazy, "Stop this kid quickly. We can't let him successfully activate the magic circle." Li Lazy didn't dare to neglect, and quickly controlled the 5 poison corpses to attack me. Zhang Xiai and Master Gui quickly used their methods to stop the 5 poison corpses. I looked up at the night sky, and suddenly I found that there were more and more stars, and they were getting brighter and brighter. Some of them were particularly dazzling, and the light they emitted illuminated almost half of the night sky. Are those the 36 constellations? and the ethereal white mist around me turned into lavender at a speed visible to the naked eye. The lavender color is hazy and exudes a little light. This light is like stars falling into the mortal world, making it look very magnificent and dreamy. These purple mist are reflecting each other with the 36 constellations. The sudden change shocked everyone present. Li Zizi opened his mouth wide and looked at me in disbelief. He stuttered and said, Ziwei Emperor Star. When I heard these 4 words, I was extremely surprised in my heart. I know that Ziwei Emperor Star is known as the Lord of Doshu. In ancient times, it was the symbol of the emperor. He was the head of the family when he was born at home, and he was the head of the country when he was born in the country. Great luck. That rich. But people with the fate of Ziwei may not necessarily be able to become emperors. It all depends on the individual. Is it possible that my destiny is Ziwei Star? Looking back on my last life, no wonder I have such a fate in this life. Sudden. The purple mist surrounding me shot straight into the sky and turned into a dazzling beam of purple light in the sky. At first glance, it looked like a celestial road. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 279. The purple mist echoes the 36 stars in the night sky. Strands of dazzling white light burst out from the star itself, and the last 36 rays of light converged into a beam, heading towards me along the sky road paved with purple mist. Oops! Lin Duyan exclaimed. The next moment, I felt endless power pouring into my body. I stretched out my hands and clenched my fists. Now I feel like I can do a lot of things. I looked around and saw a faint golden purple halo surrounding me. Zhang Shi hurriedly came to me and said, only people with a special destiny can activate the magic circle and echo it with the 36 stars. I never expected that you turned out to be a person with a destiny from Ziwei. To be honest, I was surprised too. Zhang 11 looked at the 5 poison corpses and said seriously, the 36th Tiangang formation can only last for 1 stick of incense. You'd better fight quickly. I nodded, holding Jingxiao in hand, and rushed towards the 5 poison corpses. I can clearly feel that my speed is many times faster than before. Seeing this, Li Leizi quickly shook the soul-catching bell in his hand. The 5 poison corpses let out a roar, and the dark green poisonous gas around them surged towards me like a flooded river. I condensed my expression, held Jingxiao in my hand, and pinched the seal of the 9 layers of Thunderju. Boom! Bursts of thunder came from my palm, and the next moment, a thick arc of electricity spread to the Jingxiao sword body. Just listen to a thunderous click. The sword of Jingxiao began to spread thunder and lightning around, like a blue flower blooming in the dark night. I raised the Jingxiao in my hand and waved it hard towards the poisonous mist. Thunder and lightning exploded, instantly dispersing the dark green poisonous mist. Thunder and lightning are the most yang things in the world, and poisonous gas is yin in nature and extremely vicious, so it is not surprising that thunder and lightning can dispel the poisonous mist at this moment. Looking at the power of this thunder technique, it can probably reach the 3rd level of the 9-layer thunder technique. You must know that with my strength just now, I cannot reach the 3rd level. Holding Jingxiao in hand, I passed through the poisonous mist at an extremely fast speed and arrived in front of the 5 poison corpses. He raised the Jingxiao in his hand and stabbed the 5 poison corpse in the neck. The 5 poison corpse reacted quickly and stretched out his right hand to grab the Jingxiao sword. With the blessing of the 36th Tiangang formation, the brute force of the 5 poison corpses seems a bit insignificant to me. I held the sword in my backhand, raised it directly, and the Jingxiao struck the Wuta corpse's shoulder firmly. With a sonorous sound, I made a crack in the black gold soft armor of the 5 poison corpses. Seeing this scene, I was instantly overjoyed. Lin Duyan saw that the situation was not good, So he picked up the corpse whip and wanted to come to help, but was stopped by the ghost master. Li Zizi shook the soul calling bell much faster. The movements of the 5 poison corpses are also becoming more and more agile. I held Jingxiao tightly, and suddenly, bloody thunder and lightning bloomed like a blood-red flower. I no longer hesitated, raised my fear and slashed at the 5 poison corpses again. This blow directly cut through the black gold soft armor, revealing the black and purple skin underneath. I originally wanted to attack again, but I thought of Huaxiu. I can't kill the 5 poison corpses here, otherwise I won't be able to resist the thunder next time. As soon as this idea appeared, bursts of thunder were heard in the sky. I looked stern. I must lead the 5 poison corpses to Huaxiu before the 36th Tiangang formation fails. When Li Zizi and Lin Duyan heard the sound of thunder, their expressions froze, and then they became crazy. They both laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. This 1,000-year-old zombie actually has the legendary immortal bones. Then, the two people looked at me with crazy faces and cold eyes. Boy! This zombie won't let you take it away no matter what you say. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 280. When I heard the words Buletin Huagu, a wave of panic arose in my heart. Not capable of turning into bones, he is the top-level existence in the zombie hierarchy. It is comparable to the legendary drought demon, or even stronger. I looked at Huaxiu behind me, and I didn't expect that Huaxiu was not transformed into a bone. No wonder the thunder is getting stronger every time. Li Zizi and Lin Duyan looked at each other with determination in their eyes. Lin Duyan said to Li Leizi, "Give me the soul-catching bell, and I will control the 5 poison corpses." Li Leizi handed the soul-catching bell to Lin Duyan without even thinking about it. Lin Duyan sat cross-legged on the ground, casually took out a few talismans and placed them on the ground. He took a deep breath, shook the soul-seizing bell with his right hand, and picked up the talismans with his middle finger and index finger with his left hand, muttering something in his mouth. The talisman actually burned out of thin air, and at the same time, the 5 poison corpses erupted with an extremely powerful corpse energy. I didn't dare to neglect, raised the Jingxiao in my hand and rushed towards the 5 poison corpses. Master Gui and Zhang Shi also launched an attack on Lin Duyan. Li Leizi took a step forward and protected Lin Duyan behind him. He said coldly, "As long as I'm here, I won't let you hurt my senior brother." A sneer appeared at the corner of Master Gui's mouth, and the yin qi around his body was strong. He squeezed the secrets with both hands, and countless thin black threads sprouted from Li Leizi's feet, like rapidly growing bamboo shoots. Li Leizi was not an economical person. When he saw this scene, he quickly took off the corpse whip from his waist and fought with these black threads. And I suddenly discovered that the 5 poison corpses were becoming more and more powerful. By the time Lin Duyan burned the 3 talismans in front of him, the strength of the 5 poison corpses had reached an unprecedented height. Master Gui and Zhang Shi joined forces to force Li Leizi to retreat continuously. Taking advantage of this gap, Master Gui stretched out his right hand and grasped it in the air. A thick black line sprang out from the ground behind Li Leizi and stabbed straight towards his chest. Just when the thick black line was about to penetrate Li Zizi's chest, the 5 poison corpse in front of me flashed and disappeared instantly. When it reappeared, it was already behind Li Leizi. The 5 poison corpse stretched out its dry, black, and bluish skin and tightly grasped the black silk thread. The poisonous mist filled the air and directly pushed back the black threads. Li Leizi breathed a long sigh of relief, stretched out his hand to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead, looked at his senior brother, and said gratefully, "Senior brother, thank you." Before the word "you" could be uttered, a horrifying scene happened. The 5 poison corpse actually bit Li Leizi's neck, and blood spurted out instantly. Lin Duyan stood up and came to Li Leizi. Li Leizi looked at Lin Duyan in disbelief. He opened his mouth and said with difficulty, "Senior brother, why are you doing this?" I, I am your junior brother. Lin Duyan glanced at Li Lazy indifferently and said, these 5 poison corpses were cultivated with the hard work of you and me. If it eats you, its strength will definitely increase significantly, so in order not to turn into bones, I can only sacrifice you. Li Zizi froze on the spot for a moment, his vitality fading rapidly, his lips trembled slightly, and he looked at Lin Duyan with tears in his eyes. He said with a trembling voice, senior brother, we grew up together. You are like a father in my heart, but now. Lin Duyan looked at Li Lazy, stretched out his hand, caressed his face, and said, junior brother, don't worry, I will avenge you. When Li Lazy heard this, his face was ashen, and then Lin Duyan controlled the 5 poison corpses to eat Li Lazy alive. Seeing this scene, my pupils trembled slightly. Li Zizi is not worthy of sympathy, but Lin Duyan's behavior is outrageous. After eating Li Lazy's 5 poison corpse, he let out a roar that resounded throughout the world, and the momentum around him instantly surged.